Are you a fiction writer looking to avoid common pitfalls in your survival scenarios? Tune in to today's episode where we will unravel truths behind advice that seem helpful, but could lead your characters into danger. From the misconceptions of finding a river guarantees safety, to the myth that you can eat anything that the animals eat, we'll explore all the potential hazards and the misguided tips. Plus, don't miss out on our segment, What Could Possibly Go Wrong in Your Story? Packed with plot twists to make your survival scenarios more realistic and riveting. Listen in to learn all about this and more on today's episode. Welcome to Writing Role with Allie, the Fiction Writer's weekly inspiration station for rural life and lifestyles, from historical to post-apocalyptic, helping you bring your rural stories to life. I'm Allie, and this is episode number 101, 5 well-intended but misleading survival advice. Okay, I know, I said it was a 5-part series. But I had 5 left over at the end of the series. What was I going to do? One quick disclaimer. I am in no way, shape, form, or fashion a medical anything. This is not medical advice, survival advice, or anything in real life. This is for the purposes of fiction writing and nothing else. Okay, on to the show. Number 1. Don't eat insects. I have no idea where this one comes from, but it's something that is believed far too often. In reality, eating insects has been around since as long as people. In fact, it's still practiced in many cultures today and is making a comeback in the food industry. Or at least they're more open to talking about it. Don't believe me? Do a web search on red food dye made from bugs. Okay, so what is the truth about eating bugs? The truth is that it's not only a viable option, but a good one. And there are many reasons for this, but I will start with the most obvious. Bugs are not only everywhere, but they can usually be found in large amounts in the same area. One example is an ant colony. Ants can be eaten, and there are millions of them inside the ant colony. Not only can there be high amounts, insects are nutrient-rich, and that means they hold lots of vitamins, minerals, and even protein when compared to plants. These are critical for keeping your character's energy levels up and keeping them healthy, 2 things that they will need to survive. Now, there are some cons. Some insects do have toxins. A common one is the blister beetle. If you don't know what that is, let's just say that you will get a blister by touching it. Hence, why your character doesn't want to ingest it. A few rules of thumb when it comes to bugs are not to eat the bright-colored ones, hairy ones, fuzzy ones, stinky ones, or stinging bugs. I also advise not eating dung beetles. Ew. One more thing, your characters need to prepare some bugs in a fire. Crickets are the ones that come to mind for me. They can carry large worms, and your character doesn't want to ingest that. There are many common bugs that can be eaten. As I said before, ants. Also, mealworms, crickets, and grasshoppers. In fact, grasshoppers are mentioned repeatedly as a food source in the Bible. Just remember to investigate the insects in the area that your story takes place. But Allie, we want to know if you ever tried them. Yes, I have. Growing up, we tried them a lot. Ants, sadly never the chocolate-covered kind, grasshoppers, crickets, grubworms, and worms are the ones that I remember. I do not remember ants or crickets having much flavor, but I was young the last time that I ate them. Grasshoppers weren't bad. We roasted them on tiny sticks, and they were crunchy, and every now and again you got a leg stuck between your teeth. They didn't have much taste to them, but if I had to describe it, it would be like unflavored popcorn. But what I get asked about most are worms and grubworms. Yes, I tried a worm raw. Simply put, it tastes like dirt. And I do not recommend unless you are starving. We did roast them similar to the grasshoppers, and they were crunchy with only a slight dirt taste. If dipped in ketchup, you could pretend that they were crunchy fries. Grubworms, in case you don't know, have pincer teeth. And having been bitten by one when I was little, because I tried to hold it, I refused to eat them unless their head was gone. It drove my dad nuts, but I was scared to have it bite my tongue or throat. Which, I suppose if you chew them quickly, it wouldn't do, but I was little. Anyways, raw, they taste like a snot ball of dirt. I remember gagging the whole time I tried it, and I was forced to try it repeatedly for months. I assume they were hoping I would get over the gagging. I didn't. I do remember that it was better roasted, but that's really all that I remember about that one, as it was a really long time ago. On a side note, If eating ants, be careful what species. Fire ants and bullet ants are known for their painful bites and will attack humans if threatened, or if their colony is threatened. I can also tell you that carpenter ants have painful bites, as I used to like to poke them many times as a kid, and they got tired of it. Some people are allergic to ant bites. Another wrinkle to think about. Number 2, finding a river means finding help. I do understand where this comes from. Many cities and villages have been built by rivers, as a river is an easy way to transport goods, get water, and get food. Food could be fish, beavers, otters, or other animals that come to the river to drink. However, just finding the river does not mean that your character has found help. Depending on the era, help could be hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Even if there is a village in sight or close by, that doesn't mean it's friendly. This could be an enemy tribe, people up to no good, cannibals, or even headhunters. On top of the human dangers, there are animal dangers. All animals need to drink sometimes, including predators. Your character could quickly find themselves being hunted by a jaguar or other predator. Not only are predators on land, but some rivers have crocodiles, or, here in America, alligators. They can come out of the water and be on land. Your character does not want to stumble on a mother alligator with her nest. But it's not just living things that are dangerous. Floods and flash floods both happen at rivers and can be deadly. If you would like to learn more about flash floods, I have an entire episode on it. If you are writing post-apocalyptic, there can be debris from plane crashes, crumbling towns, boats, and more. There can also be chemicals and other toxins in the water. Many nuclear plants are on the river or other body of water to have a water source for their reactor, something that could seep into the water if there is no one to care for it. According to some movies, there can also be zombies in the water. If it's contaminated with nuclear waste, I guess they would be toxic zombies. I just want to know if they can glow in the dark or grow a third head. Asking for a friend. Number 3, following a river leads to safety. I do get this. In theory, you will eventually run into humans if you follow the river long enough. On top of all of the above dangers, there are things to think about. First is the terrain. They could come to a huge cliff with a waterfall. Think Niagara Falls. They could either scale the cliff, which could be dangerous, or walk far enough inward that there is no cliff, and then follow it back to the waterfall, but with them on the top of the cliff this time. There is no telling how many miles or days they will have to travel out of their way. So, I would also like to point out that snakes love rocks, and cliffs are rocky. Just saying. There is also a danger of running into non-friendly people. Hostile natives, cannibals, enemies of your character's people in general, flat-out bad guys, moonshiners, and many more. Even if the people are not hostile, they might not be able to help your character. There is the possibility that they do not speak the same language. If your character needs medical help, they might not have it. So while this is something I would personally do if I was in this situation, there are risks to following the river or finding a group of people your character doesn't know. Now, if you want to hear a great story that I think about every time I talk about this, I advise going to YouTube and typing in Appalachia's Stolen Child, the Katie Sage story. It's a true story and worth listening to. And just so we're clear, I am not affiliated with, nor am I being paid. It's just personally a true story recommendation. Number 4, finding food first. I can only assume that the idea behind this is to keep your character's energy levels up, which, of course, is important. But if your character is in a survival situation, this should not be first on their list. Assuming that your character isn't getting saved right away and that they are not severely injured, the first thing that they need to do is to find shelter. Why? Because your character needs to stay warm and out of the elements. The biggest danger that they face is hypothermia. Hypothermia means that the body loses heat faster than it can regenerate heat, meaning this can happen in the middle of summer and not just in winter. With hypothermia able to happen in as little as 5 minutes, it needs to be the first thing that your character worries about. Next, they will find water and hopefully a way to purify it. You see, human bodies can only live 3 days without water, and children, elderly, and pregnant women even less, while the body can survive for weeks without food. That means water is second. After those things, your character will worry about food. Now, will the average character know this? Maybe not. I find that only about 25% of the people I talk to know this. That means your character might not, and could, fall into some perilous conditions. It also gives someone in a group of people a chance to save the others. assuming that the others listen. Number 5. Eat what the animals eat. Some people believe that if animals are eating it, it must be safe for humans. Let me be clear, this is not true. Just as chocolate is deadly to dogs, so can things animals eat be deadly to humans. Some examples are, but are not limited to, koalas eating eucalyptus leaves, and we can't. Many scavengers can eat rotting meat or rancid meat. Rabbits and squirrels can eat death cap mushrooms. Deers, bears, rats, raccoons, and more can eat poison ivy. Horses can eat red maple leaves that are toxic to humans. Many birds can eat holly berries. All of those things are toxic to humans. One quick reminder before we get to all the ways things could possibly go wrong in your story. If you enjoy this content, I hope you will take a minute to share it with a friend or fellow writing buddy. Word of mouth is the most trusted recommendation form. Now for everyone's favorite part, what could possibly go wrong in your story? Likely to go wrong. Your young character remembers that they can eat bugs to survive and spots a wasp's nest. They try to catch one so they can remove the stinger and eat it, but all they get is stung. Also likely to go wrong. Your character finds a river and thinks they are safe and will be able to get out of the rain in the village by the river. However, there is a flood and the village is gone. Possible to go wrong. Your character sees a rabbit eating a mushroom and thinks that since the rabbit's eating it, it must be safe to eat. They eat some of the mushroom, not realizing that it is a death cap mushroom. This will be deadly. Possible to go wrong. Your character follows a river hoping to find help. Instead, they find a waterfall with tall cliffs. They will either need to go back, go around, or scale the cliff. Unlikely to go wrong. Your character is so hungry that when they find a bug, they quickly shove it in their mouth. The bug was a stink bug, and they are soon gagging and vomiting. Also unlikely to go wrong. Your character knows that they can eat ants, and when they find an ant colony, they try to dig the ants out to eat. What they didn't realize is that the red ants are fire ants. When they disturb the nest, the ants attack, biting them and causing a lot of pain. Improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character follows a river to a village for help. It's only once they get there that they learn that this is a village of cannibals, and they are on the menu. Also improbable, but still technically in the realm of possibilities. Your character is looking for help by following a river, only to be attacked by a hungry jaguar. Thanks for listening. Until next time, happy wordsmithing!